In the eyes of most boxing fans, defense is the enemy of entertainment. Well, luckily for them, in this fight right here between Jose Zepeda and Ivan Baranchyk, the two fighters decided to disregard defense altogether and instead provide pure entertainment. In 5 rounds, there was a total of 8 knockdowns. Now, I've been watching boxing for over 3 decades, and in that time, I've seen some very, very wild fights. But off the top of my head, I can't remember a fight that had 8 knockdowns or more. I'm sure I have seen at least a couple, but I can't remember them off the top of my head, which is testament to how rare they are. Now, before my time, yes, I'm old, but I'm not that old. Before my time, there was a ridiculous amount of knockdowns in certain fights back in the 50s and stuff like that, where they would let things go on a lot longer than they do today. For example, when Floyd Patterson lost to Ingemar Johansson in their first meeting, Patterson got knocked down 7 times in the 3rd round. So he had to go down 7 times before the referee decided enough was enough in a single round, in round 3. So yeah, there have been some very, very wild fights, but 8 knockdowns, particularly in such a short fight, is very rare. I had a lot of people coming to me saying, Hatman, have you watched the fight? Please tell me you've seen it. It was incredible. It was one of the greatest fights I've ever seen. This is what people were telling me. So now, obviously, I have watched it. And yes, it was exciting. But, and yes, there's a but, even though there was a spectacular knockdown, well, a spectacular knockout, should I say, to end the fight, most of the knockdowns, most of the other 7 knockdowns were not particularly devastating. They're kind of, some of them were messy knockdowns where it was more of a balance thing than the guy being hurt. Some of them were genuine. Look, I'm saying they were all genuine knockdowns, but it wasn't a situation where one guy gets damn near laid out, then he gets off the canvas and he lays the other guy out. It wasn't one of those kind of fights. It was the kind of fight where most of those 8 knockdowns were scrappy knockdowns, where it was as much balance as it was the concussive effect of the shot. So yeah, even though it was entertaining and it was real good, and was it fight of the year? I don't know. I can't think of all the fights we've had this year. I guess we've had a lot more stuff on our minds, right? And there hasn't been that much boxing. So maybe it's fight of the year, I don't know. But historically, this won't go down as one of the most memorable fights I've ever seen. It definitely won't go down as one of those. If there was more knockdowns like the one that finished the fight, obviously he was out cold at that point, Baranchyk, so he couldn't have got up. But he got laid out flat on his back. If there was more kind of knockdowns like that came out of the blue, one punch and it landed real clean, not those scruffy type of knockdowns that happened in this fight, then maybe it would go down, at least in my mind, as one of the greatest slugfests I've seen. So, but either way, it was a very entertaining fight. And Baranchyk gets knocked out, I believe, for the first time in his career. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know he went a distance with Josh Taylor, and Zepeda did what Josh Taylor couldn't do. However, Josh Taylor decided to box, and he didn't want to allow Baranchyk the opportunity to drop him several times like he did Zepeda. I mean, Josh Taylor's probably got a better chin than Zepeda anyway, but he knew that Baranchyk was strong, and as I say, he didn't want to give him the opportunity by standing with him too often. He was more defensively responsible than Zepeda. You see, the thing about fighting a pressure fighter like Baranchyk, who's very strong, is a lot of the time you don't want to be running around the ring the whole night. Because for one, it doesn't look good for the judges, especially in a close fight. For two, it can get tiring running around the ring. Not just physically tiring, but mentally tiring. So a lot of the time when you're in there with a pressure fighter, you're going to want to establish respect. You're going to want to hit him hard so that he hesitates before he comes in. That gives you a bit of space. But with Baranchyk in this fight, he got hit and he got dropped, and it only seemed to spur him on to become even more aggressive. You do get those hard nuts like that who react in that way. But ultimately, that was Barancyk's undoing because he got knocked out cold. I mean, some are going to say he only knows how to fight the one way, so what else was he going to do? Well, I accept that point, you know? What else was he going to do? Was he going to try and box with Zepeda at long range and allow this guy to take rounds here and there before he gets the perfect opportunity to get inside? Or was he really going to try and force the action? He decided to roll the dice. When Baranchyk goes back to the drawing board, they are going to have to work on more sophisticated pressure fighting techniques. I'm not sure what his current trainer is like or who he is, but going forward in his career, that's what he has to have on his mind. That pressure with reckless abandon is going to get him knocked out time and time again. He's been knocked out cold once now. It can happen again. He was down several times in this fight. So he's going to need to develop a more nuanced approach to pressure fighting. Let's just put it that way. And as I say, Zepeda, he was trying to box, but he was also trying to bang to get his respect. He got caught a few times, dropped, but ultimately he came out on top. He suffered at least one fairly heavy knockdown, but again, he was kind of caught square-footed, where he gets hit with a right hook and he goes down quite heavily. He's kind of caught square-footed. So other than the final knockdown, the knockout, the knockdowns weren't all that devastating. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments about this fight. I know a lot of you have been ranting and raving about it. Understandably so. It was a good one. And to be fair, it was probably better to have watched it live, because I knew the result. I knew that there were multiple knockdowns in the fight before I'd even seen it. So that kind of does take the excitement away a little bit. If I've seen it live like you guys, I probably would have been a bit more hyped about it. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below.